All right, problem 1043. Akio coaches a girls' volleyball team. He needs to select players for the 6 different starting positions from his roster of 16 players. On Akio's teams, each position has its own special responsibility: setter, front left side and middle hitters, back right and left side passers, and libero. All right, first question. If he chooses randomly, how many ways can Akio form his starting lineup? All right, there's 2 different ways we could think about this. One is we could use a decision chart. We could say he has to choose 6 different spots. And in the first way, he could choose 16, and then he could choose 15, and then 14, and then 13, and then 12, and then 11. We also could say this is actually a permutation because we can't repeat, right? The same person can't play 2 positions, and the order matters, right? The libero is different than setter. So we could say this is a permutation. I'm choosing 6 players from 16 slots. So this is going to be 16 factorial divided by 16 minus 6, which is 10 factorial. And if I simplify that, I get 16 times 15 times 14 times 13 times 12 times 11. And then 10 down to 1 cancels out with this 10 factorial right there. Both ways, I'm going to type these into my calculator, or I could type this into my calculator, or I could type that into my calculator. All 3 ways, I'm going to get 5,765,760 ways that he could choose from his 16 players. Okay, in part B, how many of those teams have Sydney playing in the libero position? Okay, well, let's think about this. How many ways could he choose Sydney to be the libero? 1, right? That's it. Sydney's the libero. Then he has 15 ways left that he could choose the next spot, and then 14, and then 13, and then 12, and then 11. Okay, that would be the same as 1 times 15 choose 5. Either way we want to put those in our calculator, we get 360,360 ways that he could choose Sydney to be the libero. Or at least, let me rephrase that, 360,360 teams that Sydney is a libero on. So then in C, if Akio chooses starting teams randomly, what is the probability in percent that Sydney gets chosen as a starting libero? Well, this is the number of teams where Sydney is the starting libero. And this are all the possible teams. So we could put that in and multiply it by 100 to get our percent, and we end up with 6.25%. Okay, D is a little bit tricky. If Akio just randomly chooses 6 players to start without regard to who plays which position, what is the probability that Sydney gets chosen? Okay, so let's think how many, now does order matter in this case? Now we're saying just whatever, libero and setter are the same probabilities. So this is no longer a permutation. This is a combination. This is a combination. We are choosing from 16 players. We're choosing 6 just randomly. That's going to be the total number of ways that we could choose 6 players without regard to which position they're going to play. Okay. That's going to be our bottom number. But what is the probability that Sydney gets chosen? Okay, well, we know if one of those is definitely Sydney. How many teams have Sydney on it? We choose Sydney, and now we need to choose 5 more players out of 15. Okay, so those are things we could calculate in various ways. We could put those into our calculator, and we get 3,003 over 8,008, which is 37.5%.